Picture this. You've been talking to this girl for weeks. Every text feels like a countdown to the next one. Every laugh feels like it means something. Tonight, she finally says yes to that date you've been building up in your head for days. She shows up looking incredible. Candles, quiet music, the kind of night you'll tell people about for years. The air between you gets thicker. She leans in first, your hand touches her face. Time slows down. This is it. The moment. Her eyes close. Yours do too. Millimeters apart. And then nothing. No kiss. Just silence. You open your eyes and she's already pulled back, looking somewhere else, trying not to make it awkward, which somehow makes it 1,000 times more awkward. You don't even need her to say it. You already know. Your breath just ruined the best moment of your month. You go home replaying it over and over, humiliated, wondering, is this just my curse? Or does this happen to other people too? Turns out, it's not just you. Roughly 1 in 4 people struggle with bad breath at some point, and most never find out until it's already too late. But here's the part that will really mess with your head. This isn't a modern problem. Ancient humans with 0 toothbrushes and 0 dentists were fighting this exact same battle thousands of years before you were born. So how did they survive it? What actually makes breath smell bad? Before looking at what ancient people did, it helps to understand what they were up against, using the same biology that explains bad breath today. Most persistent bad breath originates in the mouth. Bacteria living on the tongue, in plaque, and between the teeth break down proteins and release volatile sulfur compounds, the molecules behind smells often compared to rotten eggs. The tongue, especially toward the back, hosts a thick bacterial coating that is one of the leading contributors. Add plaque buildup, gum disease, or an untreated cavity, and the problem compounds. None of this required germ theory to notice. Ancient people had no concept of bacteria, but they did not need one. They could smell the result, and because it was unpleasant, they experimented with ways to manage it, using whatever plants and tools their culture had on hand. This is not a story about ancient mouths being uniquely disgusting. The biology at work is the same biology operating in your mouth right now on your own date nights. The real difference is that ancient people lacked modern antibiotics and routine professional care. So once something went wrong, it had fewer ways of being stopped. The simplest strategy, get the debris out. If something is physically stuck in your teeth, the simplest response is to remove it. And some version of this idea shows up again and again in the ancient world. Toothpicks, twigs, and fibrous chewing sticks appear across ancient Arab, Babylonian, Greek, and Roman cultures, though the strength of that evidence varies. The end of a stick could be chewed until it frayed into something brush-like, then rubbed against the teeth and gums. We cannot say this was the earliest remedy people used. Chewing sticks were made from perishable wood, and materials like that rarely survive in the archaeological record. But the underlying principle was already familiar thousands of years ago. Mechanical friction can dislodge trapped debris and disrupt buildup on a tooth's surface. It is the same idea your toothbrush relies on today, even if the tool looked nothing alike. The ancient method still used today. One version of this approach is still in everyday use, which gives us a rare chance to test an ancient practice against modern research. It is called miswak, often made from the Salvadora persica tree, though other plants are used as well, and it remains common across parts of the Middle East, Africa, and South Asia. Rather than describe it as one unbroken tradition stretching back millennia, it is more accurate to say this general style of chewing stick cleaning survived, and miswak is its best-known modern form. Clinical studies suggest that, used with proper technique, miswak can reduce plaque and gum inflammation, and some of its plant compounds show antibacterial activity in lab testing. Worth noting, these studies largely measure plaque and gum health, not bad breath directly, so calling it a proven cure overstates the research. Even so, it is a genuine case of an old tool doing something real, confirmed by evidence its original users never had. Could you just cover up the smell? Removing debris is one approach. Masking the smell entirely is another. And that is where the story turns to ancient Egypt, home to one of the most repeated claims in this whole topic. Ancient Egyptian medical texts include aromatic preparations for mouth-related complaints, often built from resins like frankincense and myrrh, sometimes combined with honey. Popular retellings compress this into a catchy claim. Egyptians invented the breath mint. That deserves caution. We do not have a confirmed chain back to a specific text proving the exact ingredients or whether the remedy targeted bad breath specifically. The honest version is this. Egyptian medicine shows real evidence of aromatic, honey-based mouth remedies, often compared to an early ancestor of the breath mint, a plausible connection rather than a confirmed one. These ingredients were not cheap either. Frankincense and myrrh were often imported rewarded and valuable, raising a fair question of who could actually afford this remedy. There is also a hidden trade-off. Honey is a fermentable sugar, and repeated exposure to it can contribute to tooth decay over time. Better breath in the moment, possibly at a cost to the teeth later on, when physicians treated breath as a medical problem. In parts of the ancient world, physicians moved beyond simply masking odor and began treating bad breath as a condition worth diagnosing. Greek medical writing, often loosely associated with the Hippocratic tradition, includes remedies described as addressing foul breath, including preparations involving wine and spices. Attributing a specific recipe to Hippocrates himself, rather than the broader body of writing that carries his name, is a distinction popular retellings often blur. What we can say with confidence is that at least one strand of Greek medicine treated bad breath as a bodily condition worth correcting through treatment, not just covering up. That instinct did not always separate the physical from the spiritual the way modern medicine does. In some documented ancient healing traditions, remedies made from plants and minerals were paired with spoken incantations. To modern eyes, that looks like medicine bolted onto superstition. But within these belief systems, the ritual and the remedy were not necessarily separate things at all. Rome's most talked about practice now, the part of this story most people remember. Roman oral care included tooth powders made from abrasive ingredients, along with rinses used for cleaning and whitening. And yes, historical accounts do connect Rome with the use of urine in dental care. As urine ages, microbial activity breaks down the urea it contains and produces ammonia, which does have genuine cleaning properties, even if ancient users explained it in entirely different terms. The stronger connection, though, is between urine and Roman teeth whitening, not a documented remedy for bad breath specifically. A text mentioning the practice does not prove it was common. It proves someone found it worth writing about. Worth adding, some Roman-era populations show significant dental wear, likely worsened by grit in stone-ground flour. Scrubbing already worn teeth with abrasive powder was not automatically gentle. Ancient does not always mean harmless. Why any of this mattered. It is worth pausing on why people bothered with any of this beyond simple discomfort. Bad breath becomes a social concern, specifically because people live and interact closely in conversation, courtship, and ritual life. Some ancient medical texts reference foul breath directly, which tells us this much. Someone thought it was worth writing down, treating, and passing along. People do not usually write remedies for problems they do not care about. What would actually work by mechanism. Rather than rank these remedies by civilization, it is more useful to sort them by why they might have worked. Mechanical removal, like chewing sticks, is effective when used with reasonable care. Saliva stimulation, from chewing fibrous materials, helps rinse the mouth. Antibacterial potential shows up in some plant compounds, including miswak, though lab activity is different from proof it reduces breath odor day to day. Odor masking, through resins and honey-based preparations, can cover a smell temporarily without fixing the deeper cause. And higher-risk practices, like heavily abrasive powders, could damage enamel over time. Not every ancient method was a good one. Miswak stands out as the clearest example of an old method that modern research takes seriously. The real discovery. So what did ancient humans actually do about bad breath? They scraped their teeth with sticks. They experimented with aromatic, honey-based preparations that may or may not have been designed for breath specifically. Physicians folded the problem into broader ideas about bodily health, sometimes alongside spoken ritual. And in Rome, oral care extended into places like aged urine that feel almost unbelievable today. None of them knew bacteria existed, or that sulfur compounds were behind the smell they fought. What they had instead was observation. Something seemed to help, so they kept doing it and passed it on. And somewhere back on that date that almost went perfectly, you are living proof the problem never really went away. Only the tools did.